ask yourself how much longer they expect you to believe Hunter Biden can do whatever wrong they decide he is guilty of? And if you think otherwise, that's your problem. Ever since Joe Biden became vice president, Hunter Biden's activities were never important enough to be worthy of the mainstream media's time. At least, that is what they hoped they could get you to believe.
There is zero evidence that Hunter Biden or Joe Biden did anything wrong here.
We should note, again, and you and I have said this in the air many times, there is no evidence that Joe Biden was, involved in any wrongdoing.
Of course, I want to note that there is no evidence that Joe Biden or Hunter Biden has done anything wrong.
I just want to reiterate.
And let's be clear for the viewers.
There is no evidence Biden did anything wrong.
I'll note again, because it's important.
There is no, I repeat, no.
There is no evidence that either Biden did anything illegal.
There's been no evidence. There was no evidence.
There's no evidence. There is no evidence.
There is not an iota of evidence.
No evidence Biden did anything wrong.
There's really
no evidence
that Joe Biden
did anything wrong.
Nobody's ever accused there's no
evidence whatsoever that Joe
Biden did
anything
wrong. Got that?
Joe Biden did nothing wrong.
As someone who has followed this story for a long time, I have seen how panic-driven the media became to suppress the news about Hunter Biden when his business ties started making headlines in June of 2020.
Secret Service records show Hunter Biden took more than 400 flights while Obama and Biden were in office before Hunter Biden joined Burisma.
During that time, there was a report on Fox Business that showed a map of Hunter Biden's travel to the 29 countries he visited while his father, Joe Biden, was vice president. Judicial Watch reported Hunter Biden took 411 flights before he joined the board of Ukrainian energy company Burisma.
It's pretty hard for me to go home and tell my constituents to ignore the fact that Hunter Biden received $50,000 a month from a gas company in the Ukraine run by the most corrupt person in the Ukraine, and 2 months after the gas company was investigated, the prosecutor got fired.
We later also learned from Senator Ron Johnson's committee report this map also represents 70 trips during which Hunter Biden received Secret Service protection at taxpayer expense. The report further states Hunter Biden received Secret Service protection for 4.5 years, beginning in 2009. In case you didn't have time to read the first 87-page report released in September 2020, which you can find on Front Page Index, the report also states on page 33, quote, during his December 2013 trip to China, during which Hunter Biden flew on Air Force Two, Hunter Biden admitted he met with a Chinese banker. According to news reports, Hunter Biden appeared to be conducting his own private business during this specific trip and was working to secure a deal in the hopes of creating a Chinese equity fund. Senator Ron Johnson's report explains how an investigation into potential conflicts of interest began in 2019 by questioning Obama administration policy into what is known as the Henninges Transaction. Henninges is an American maker of anti-vibration technology with military applications. For example, the type of technology used in U.S. Navy submarines. This transaction was approved by the Obama administration and gave control of American military technology to a Chinese government-owned aviation company and the Chinese-based investment firm with established ties to the Chinese government. Incidentally, wasn't Hunter Biden kicked out of the Navy reserves for failing a drug test?
Joe's son, Hunter, got thrown out of the Navy, and then he became a genius on Wall Street in about 2 days.
What is he doing selling naval technology? Senator Ron Johnson's report also states, quote, one of the companies involved in the Henninges transaction was a billion-dollar private investment fund called Bohai Harvest RST. This company was formed November 2013 by a merger between Chinese government-linked firm Bohai Capital and a company named Rosemont Seneca Partners. According to Senator Johnson's report, Rosemont Seneca was formed in 2009 by Hunter Biden, the son of Vice President Joe Biden and others.
Mr. Vice President, how many times have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about the overseas business.
Somebody like Vice President Biden, who's involved in incredibly sleazy, possibly illegal dealings, we don't know the full extent. My report raises far more troubling questions than it ever answers, but it also really points out to three different scandals. You have the Biden family financial scandals, you have the news media suppressing the story, and you have the deep state not providing the types of documents that we need.
The executive summary of the report explains how Hunter Biden's affiliation with Ukrainian energy company Burisma was established. In late 2013 and into 2014, mass protests erupted in Kyiv, Ukraine, demanding integration into Western economies and ending systemic corruption. At least 82 people were killed during the protests. As a result, Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych fled the country. Less than 2 months later, over the span of only 28 days, significant events involving the Bidens unfolded.
But you just mentioned business dealings in 2014. This was when Joe Biden was a sitting vice president. And we've got a list here that Vice President Biden meets with his son's business partner in 2014. This was April of 14. He meets with Devon Archer at the White House. In April of 14, he visits Ukraine. He's soon to be described by President Obama as the public face of the administration's handling of Ukraine. Of course, Archer joins the Burisma board later that month on April 22nd, and then later on in May of 2014, Hunter Biden joins the Burisma board, and over the course of the next several years makes more than $4 million.
On April 16, 2014, Vice President Biden met with his son's business partner, Devon Archer, at the White House. 5 days later, Vice President Biden visited Ukraine, and he soon after was described in the press as, quote, the public face of the administration's handling of Ukraine. The day after his visit on April 22nd, Archer joined the board of Burisma. 6 days later, on April 28th, British officials seized $23 million from the London bank accounts of Burisma's owner, Mykola Zlochevsky. 14 days later, on May 12th, Hunter Biden joined the board of Burisma, and over the course of the next several years, Hunter Biden and Devon Archer were paid millions of dollars from a corrupt Ukrainian oligarch for their participation on the board. A few months later, a supplemental report was added in November 2020 with new evidence brought forward by Tony Bobulinski. These things took place in the Obama administration's first term when officials were working to earn the trust of the American public for a second term.
President Biden, how involved were you in your son's Chinese shakedown text message? Were you sitting there? Were you involved?
No, I wasn't.
Were you?
No.
During that second term, new information in the form of a July 30th, 2017 WhatsApp shakedown text message to a Mr. Zhang revealed the increasingly brazen tactics Hunter Biden applied to try and force the hand of his business associates.
Have you received any money from that business dealing?
No.
At all? Not 1 cent?
Not 1 cent.
According to a recently released whistleblower report, Hunter Biden collected more than $8.3 million from Ukraine, Romania, and China.
Concerning Hunter Biden, I feel like we have a very good grasp on the income flows, yes.
And is it millions?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It was around 8.3 million from 2014 to 2019.
From the front lines of America's leading political news and opinion, I'm Alex Datig with Front Page Index. Politics for you.